arriving here now is the most appropriate time and space. I want you to tell me the very first things that you see or the very first impressions that you have as you now start to understand where you are and what is happening around you.
I see kind of like a being that is looking through a screen and that is creating the salamanders. Before this moment, during your guidance, I was seeing salamanders here and there, and there's one thing that they told me is that they're not elementals in the sense that they came to Earth. They weren't created from Earth.
Could you tell us more about that? Where were they created? Where are they coming from?
A bit of everywhere in the cosmos, and more specifically from a mind that sort of like God's mind, but it's not exactly God or source.
Let's explore what you are being shown. You said that there is some kind of a being who is creating them. Would you like to tell me more about it?
I see it as being me, or as if I was inside the consciousness of that being. So I see my hands moving around. I see a lot of activity in what we call the third eye. Kind of like this being creates the reality, the plasmatic reality, before actually materializing it. With its mind's eyes, it creates, and then it does things with its hands to further manifest it, I guess.
Does this creator being have appearance, a body that you could describe right now?
It doesn't really have an appearance, but it is showing itself to me with something that resembles a body, but as soon as you asked the question, it showed me that it can interchange form, and it cannot have a form. I think it's just showing itself to me that way so that I can comprehend.
I see. And you said that this energy, this being is creating this salamander.
Yes. There's a lot of care and love and attention put into this creation. It's a very sweet and tender feeling.
Could you perhaps tell me more about the traits of this energy that is being used to create these beings?
What came was the different elements of Earth, and it showed me fire, water, and it showed me Earth also very strongly. And immediately after, it showed me kind of like a plus sign. I'm not sure what that means. I think it's sort of to say that the salamanders would be a very valuable addition to Earth, I guess. It's also showing me the salamander encircling the plus sign and forming a circle around it.
I wonder what that means. Can you connect with this more?
I'm getting a feeling of encircle and holding it and sustaining it, and kind of like water, but yes, I don't know if if I make myself understood, but it's a very enveloping, that's the word, yes, very enveloping and safe. And also bringing a sort of structure to it. That's what the circle around the plus is.
Okay, wonderful. What are you being shown after this?
I'm being shown as if it was like salamanders flowing downward from that plus sign onto Earth, and I'm being showed them appearing in fire, as if, yes, it's not being born in fire, but it's more appearing out of nowhere from fire.
What type of fire do you see?
A regular, I forget the name in English, but a regular fire like we have in homes.
A fireplace?
Yes, thank you. I'm being told that symbolically, but that the symbolism is truth. So it's symbolically, but not in the sense that we usually understand. That it has a very strong connection. Well, its roots of the salamanders coming to Earth are of knowledge. It's not bringing knowledge, it's, I guess the best word would be anchoring knowledge, materializing knowledge.
And how do you see these beings now? Do they have a physical body? How do they look like?
Yeah, they do have a physical body, but they also have a very, very strong, very huge actually, etheric body, astral body. I'm being showed now sort of like the animal of a salamander that is, I don't know, 10-20 centimeters, and the astral body of it is gigantic. It's the size of an elephant.
And could you tell us why they have so big energetic bodies?
Yes, they showed me that they're here to, I guess, anchor some specific, well, knowledge and energy field onto Earth. And I'm being shown actually a field where there are salamanders, and it's almost as if their etheric body fills up almost the entirety of Earth, because their physical body is small and precise, with sort of like an acupuncture point, pressure point, and their etheric bodies is so huge, and it merges with the etheric bodies of other salamanders and also other beings apparently, and it creates this grid of protection and knowledge.
I have heard that the salamanders they represent and they embody the sparkle of life, that they are the activators of life, and that they transfer this spark of energy. Would you like to talk to us more about that?
They're saying that it's not that it's not exactly that, but it's connected. It's not that.
Can they explain what is the meaning of that, or how it correlates with their actual mission or essence?
They're showing me the inside of Earth, the other planes and dimensions inside of Earth, and there is something inside of Earth that is connecting all of them, and every time we humans step into the ground with our bare feet, we are being connected to that energy field and to what you called the spark of life.
You mean the life force of Gaia?
It's sort of like a fractal, a facet of the life force of Gaia that it may seem very easily, and it's normal to believe that they are elementals, but it's not exactly the same. They're telling me that there are elementals that are literal manifestations, creations of Gaia's energy itself, and that in their case it's not exactly that they came here, and they are almost one with Gaia, because in that, I guess, in that level of consciousness the separation is less present, but it's slightly different. So in that spark of life, it's a fractal, a perspective of Gaia's energy. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does. Could you talk to us about their mission on this planet, why they are here?
The first thing they said is to anchor love and to help us and all other beings here, not just humans, to be physical manifestations of love. And the way that they do that is through that, what you called spark of life, through that fire of knowledge that is inside all of us and that lights us. That to them is, it's a fractal of unconditional love, and that's how they accomplish the mission of helping us to embody love.
So they embody and represent the spark of life?
Again, they're telling me yes and no. Wait, I'm gonna ask why that term is bothering or not the right one. Oh, okay. They tell me that the thing for them is in spark. They think we envision a very ephemeral thing that should go away, and they want to make sure we understand that it's more than, it's permanent, it's eternal, it's infinite. Okay, that's it.
Yeah, that's a very good explanation and pointer. And so there are, on our planet there are the physical salamanders, and then there are these etheric salamanders. I wonder what is the connection between these two species?
They're showing me that the energy field, the real etheric being that they were showing me that is huge, from that they're showing me that there are many parts of that float around and that fluidly go around and communicate with humans in a more impalpable way. It's another way for them to contact us and to activate us into their mission and into their love. And maybe it is through BQH sessions, through meditations, through dreams, and they use that physical presence that exists on Earth. That's where it comes from.
Okay, so there is a link between those two. Is there, let's say, this is their like physical representation on the third dimension, but they also do exist in a higher dimension on this planet. Is that correct?
Yes. And they're telling me they feel very lucky. They feel very grateful to be able to still have their physical manifestation also.
Why is that so?
Why is what?
Why do they feel privileged to have this physical also bodies?
Because they tell me that it was the case with other beings also. And it isn't anymore.
Yeah, that is true. Why? Why did other elementals and beings they don't have physical bodies anymore on the third dimension, and salamanders still do?
They're actually showing me a horse and showing me a lizard, and they're telling me that unicorns, for instance, still anchor themselves through the physical manifestation of horses sometimes, but it feels more separate in their case, and in the case of dragons it's the same. And they showed me that for dragons, for instance, there was a disconnect in the mission. There was a disconnect in the mission between dragons and humans, and there was a very big heartache. There were a lot of traumatic things that happened, let's say, that made dragons, for instance, fade away from the physical manifestations that existed at one point.
Yes, I have heard that before, as I in a previous session connected with the dragons, and they explained that what you're saying. So, but the salamanders, they do keep a physical representation in our world, and they do appear, the physical ones, they do appear to be bioluminescent. They are glowing. Many of them, many different types of the physical salamanders we have on our planet, they are glowing. Could you talk about that?
They're telling me that they appear in certain places and for certain people for specific reasons. I feel like they're telling me this specifically for me now. And they're telling me that when they appear for a human, the human should pay attention to where they are in their path, in their journey, and why they may be needing the physical appearance of salamanders. And about your question of bioluminescence, they're showing me a strong connection to the earth and to the sun and to fire. Oh, that's interesting. It's as if what they do with their physical bodies is the incarnation of the primordial light and primordial fire. I don't know if that makes sense.
When you say incarnation, do you mean like an embodiment?
Yes, they're telling me that what they do is, there's the light and the fire of the sun, for instance, of our vital force, And if you are fully and truly incarnated and connected with this planet, with this life, with this presence of today, you can very easily, apparently, shine that light. Making sense?
It makes absolute sense. It's so beautiful. It makes total sense, and it makes me also think of the halo. Some of the enlightened beings who walked on this planet seem to project outwards this light, illuminating their energy field. Yeah, which means that the salamanders they hold more light in their DNA.
They're telling me that all you just said, it's a full, immense yes, and that you understood everything. I was feeling my whole body. However, they said that it's not that they hold more light in their DNA. They're saying that we can do the same quite easily. The easiness, fluidity seems to be evident for them. And it would be a question of activating those parts of our DNA that for some of us are still dormant.
That's why they say we are made of light. And the more we embody that, we hold more of this light and emanate it.
Yes, and they're telling me that that a lot of us humans are remembering now that not only we have the possibility and the ability to awaken our DNAs, but we also have the birthright to do it, is the term.
Do salamanders assist in this process, in this DNA activation?
Yes, apparently. Even before you finished your question, they were showing me sort of like the body of a salamander stepping into my face and putting itself with its front little paws, I guess, in front of my third eye, and the rest of the body covering up until my nose, and the tail either maybe going inside of my mouth, actually.
Wow.
Oh, and they're showing me if we imagine or envision their heads, their face, when they're doing that in that position, I see their eyes lighting up and connecting to source's light. It's strange and beautiful.
That's amazing. Could you explain why they place themselves in that position?
Yes, they're showing me that there's something about putting themselves in the bridge of our noses and sort of like covering our noses, but they don't cover it to the point where we can't breathe. It's almost like the opposite. It's something about purifying. Oh yes, they're showing me fire inside their bellies, and it's as if they were purifying our entrance of vital force of the breath.
Oh wow, yeah, that makes sense. That's incredible.
And now I'm asking, why the tail inside the mouth?
Thank you. I was about to ask you the same question.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand, but I'll tell you what I get. It feels like it's some sort of nourishment of sorts. They're showing me as if we should, in that experience, not like a straw, but maybe it sounds strange, but maybe like when we are babies, we're children and we are in our mother's breasts. Yeah.
It's like maybe feeding from that energy.
Oh. Yes, and they're showing me that in that part, the energy that we're feeding, that we are being fed or that is nourishing us, looks more like a lightning bolt. So in the belly and in the nose, it was fire that I saw, and in the tail that is going in our mouths, it's a lightning bolt. It's closer to electricity.
Wow.
And they're showing me also the paws. I'm sure this is not the right word, but that are on top of each brow, and their little heads resting on top of our third eyes. And I don't fully know why, but the paws feel almost like little suctions, kind of like octopus paws. And it feels like those specific points are very important for us into our, if we wish to ascend and to activate our dormant DNAs. So that's why they put their paws there.
So they are points of energy?
Yes. And they're also talking to me about points of energy and of the manifestation of our duality here on Earth, and harmonizing that and bringing that back to center into the third eye, and harmonizing that third eye with Source's light is the key. And seeing that, they're showing me their eyes again, which form these tunnels of light, of direct light with Source. And they're telling me that it is key that we see each other as ascended masters already, that we see each other as light beings, that changes everything. They're literally showing me like a key that it would be like turning, and all the doors open when you turn the key. The key is already there, everything is there, and if we look at ourselves the way that they know that we are, we're simply turning the key and putting consciousness onto our true essence, and everything opens easily.
I really love what they say. Is this connected with manifestation, or why do they suggest that this would be helpful and appropriate?
They're telling me that everything is connected to manifestation. That realizing our true essence is the key to manifesting that true essence into this material world, into this lifetime here, and this experience that we chose to come have.
Like what comes into my mind is like a remembering.
Yes.
Beautiful. I'm curious, does this visual that you just experienced, this the way the salamander positioned itself on your face and all this explanation, would that be a tool that people could use and visualize to assist in their DNA activation?
Oh yes, thank you. They're thanking you very much for asking the question, because they thought for them it was obvious, but they hadn't specified. Yes, that is absolutely something that anyone and everyone listening to this audio and others can and should do freely.
Wow. And how one can they give us some tips? How can one invoke them?
They're showing me everything very simple. But if they're telling me to begin with that people could literally just sit or lay down and close their eyes and envision what has been described. Just as easy as that. And if they wish to make a ritual out of it or have some sort of ritualized thing, what they showed me was the earth, the ground, the soil, and having your feet in the ground, naked feet touching the earth, and putting yourself in a lower position, as if your butt almost touching the ground, and drawing symbols onto earth, or just scratching the earth with your hands, with your fingers. And after doing that, sitting in a quiet place and visualizing what they described. They're also showing me other ways of doing that. They're saying that we can literally adapt it to whatever we want. They're also showing me lighting up a candle and looking at the flame and just playing around with it and envisioning it, and after having fun with the fire, doing the same thing, sitting down, closing your eyes.
I always loved just staring at the flame of the candle. And can they talk about that? Because I'm sure there is important information behind this.
Yes, they're telling me that that is a beautiful way also of seeing them whenever you want. It's just sitting in front of a flame and watching the fire and listening to the fire, listening with your heart, with your mind's eye, and that they will come into contact with you if you do that in a very light and playful vibration, not expecting to see them, not forcing anything, just allowing it to appear.
This is beautiful, and it's such a primordial calling, right, for human beings since the beginning of time. This connection we have with the fire element, and with just sitting and looking at the fireplace or a candle.
Yes, and I just had a very strong manifestation in my body. An electric current, and they're telling me that you're absolutely right, and that it reminds us when we do that, when we look into the fire, it reminds us of who we truly are, and it reminds us of the circle. Oh, it's beautiful. They're showing me the circle that they were showing me in the beginning, surrounding the plus. Because yes, in the beginning, long times ago, we would sit in circle and remember that we are all one, that we are literally all connected, all surrounding the fire.
Beautiful. I want to thank them for this gift that they provided us with these teachings, especially about the DNA activation.
They are saying that they are very, very thankful themselves to have this channel, and you and Anna, and they're just very excited that we are finally listening.
Wow, that's great. I'm so happy to hear that. I want to go back to something that they mentioned earlier that is also connected to our vessel today, Anna, because they said that they do tend to appear in the physical to certain individuals for a reason. and they did this also with Anna. I would like to ask, what would be the purpose of them showing themselves to certain people?
They told me right away that I knew that it was to... Yeah, they're saying that in my case and in most cases... Yes, they're saying that in my case and in most cases it's because that person feels like they forgot who they truly were, feels like they almost forgot their inner fire, their inner light, and appearing to a human in their physical form is a very strong connection, a very strong manifestation that if the human is open, of course, it will activate things inside of them. They're also telling me that sometimes that there have been some stories told about the physical animals of salamanders that kind of scared people away from them for some, and that sometimes the human is not fully open and that the connection will be less strong, but that most of the times they appear, the reason is because that human is in such a low vibration. That's what they're telling me, that the appearance of a salamander is needed to reawaken their inner fire. But they also told me that it's not in all cases. In most cases it has been this reason, but sometimes it's also they appear for people who are already in a very high vibration and are ready to receive all the other layers of their teachings and their activations.
So also people who would like to work on this, on these things, they could also call upon them and connect with them.
Yes, exactly. So in a sense, it's a very complex and complete, I would say, energy and mission, because they can at the same time work and aid with very primary needs and at the same time aid with very subtle ascension.
What do they mean with subtle ascension?
It's the DNA activations and reawakenings that they explained before.
Okay.
And they're also telling me that there's more than that. That there's, let's call it another layer that would be teaching us or aiding us into, once our DNAs are activated, once we fully bring light into all parts of us. It has to do with the manifestation that you talked about. They can also aid us into sustaining that ascended vibration here on earth. Oh, and they're showing me back to the beautifully symbiotic connection that they have with Gaia. Yeah, so there's even another layer. Maybe we'll explore another time.
I have a question regarding their connection with the element of fire, which is, as I understand, very, very strong and powerful. And since they are also connected with Gaia, brings me to ask the following question. We have seen on our planet the last years more and more fires and more volcanoes waking up. And I wanted to ask them if they have anything to share regarding this, and if they are in any way connected to this reawakening and this manifestation of fire that we see.
They say that they are connected, but not in a completely active way. And the first thing they told me when you asked about the volcanoes is that they understand that to us it may feel
Destructive. I think I know what they want to say, that for many humans it feels destructive, but it has a higher purpose.
Yes, destruction has a higher purpose, and sometimes those fires and volcanoes, what they're telling me is that sometimes it is for the purpose of destroying, and that is apparently very much needed and sacred. And sometimes it is also for the purpose of transmuting and creating. Just like when we talk about our inner fires that create life. So there are many different aspects of those fires and the volcanoes, and even they're showing me the tectonic plates of Earth moving around a lot lately. And yes, they understand and they are full of love for our feelings and emotions and our reactions. But they ask us to synchronize with unconditional love, to be able to appreciate it for what it is.
Mm-hmm. So this is part of nature's cycle, what we are seeing happening on our planet right now. So it's connected to ascension.
Oh yes, it was a big oh yes for the last question. And they also told me that we would gain a lot from remembering that we are nature. We are a part of nature through the physical bodies that we chose to incarnate into. We are fractals of Gaia also. Mm-hmm. So we are also nature. And since we are ascending, Gaia is ascending, and we are all in this together.
So what happens, what we see happening in our external reality and on our planet, as we are physical beings, is also what is happening inside each and every one of us. This awakening, this transformation, this healing.
Yes, and they're telling me to say that we can envision on a molecular level our bodies, and remember that in a molecular level we are composed of the same molecules that are inside the earth, outside the earth, inside the cosmos, outside of the universe. And that maybe if we connect to that in a micro level, we will be able to have a broader perspective.
I love it.
And apparently it makes sense also. Not that's me saying it makes sense. They're telling me that they also work on the molecular level, and with what we saw from the DNAs, yeah, that makes sense.
Do they have a message for humanity at this time, or for our listeners?
They would love for us to envision this sacred circle in which at the core lies the plus, the addition, the fire, the sacredness of life and of one. And they're showing me, oh, that's beautiful. They're showing me the circle that encircles the plus that they showed me in the beginning. And the circle is water. It's a flowy water that just moves and flows infinitely. And in the circle, inside of the circle in the core, there's the fire and the spark and the light and the flame. Yes. It's gorgeous. And they're telling me that that there have been many before them giving us this exact message. And that the message is still the same, is that we are many and we are one, and there is a center and a core, and there is light and love. And our hearts, they're telling me that in our hearts reside home, reside all of it, resides source.
Thank you.
They are asking me if it's okay that they create a prayer for all the people that will listen to this.
Absolutely.
Okay. They ask us to just be, to let ourselves be guided, to let ourselves be welcomed and warmed up inside of their loving and tender light. And they are telling us that they protect us and guide us and reawaken us if we wish so. And please just call them, just envision them, play with them, and we will be aiding them in fulfilling their mission of aiding us and fulfilling our mission of aiding Gaia. And it goes on and on and on. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.